Hi, this video was made in response to a comment I got on a video I released a couple of days ago. I put out a video asking what people wanted to learn, and Randy left a comment saying he would like to know more about character animation with keyboard controls. And if you have anything you'd like me to make a video on about game making or WordPress or Shopify, PHP, JavaScript, just drop me a comment below and I'll do my best to accommodate. Now I have a robot sprite sheet set up here, and these are images that I got from opengameart.org, and I have placed the images 80 pixels apart on the X coordinate and 111 pixels apart on the Y. I'm using the basic phaser template that you can get at my website that's free. I'll also be using the phaser snippets on my website. And I've set this all up on a local server, and I have another video on my YouTube channel telling you how to do all of that. So let's dive into putting the robot there. First, we need to go into the sprite snippets, and we need to load that sprite sheet into the library. Preload sprite sheet is the snippet we're after. Put that in the preload function of the state main file. And the robot image will be available with the blog post accompanying this video, and I'll put a link to that down in the description shortly after the video is uploaded. So make sure you make an images folder inside there and put the robot inside of it. And we need a key to call the sprite sheet, and we'll just call it robot. The path is images robot.png. The sprite width is 80. The sprite height is 111, and the number of cells is optional, so I'm just going to leave that off. Now let's put the robot on the stage. In your create function, I'm going to make a state variable called this robot. This robot equals game add sprite, and I'm going to put him in the center of the world using some built-in constants, game world center X, and I can just copy that and change it to center Y as well. And we need the key then robot to tell it which image to load from the library. Let me refresh and we'll have a look. Now the robot is almost in the middle of the screen, and the reason that he isn't is because his XY coordinates are starting at the middle of the screen about here, but the image inside is aligned to the top left-hand corner of the image right here, and we want it to be aligned in the middle of the image, and that in Phaser is called an anchor. So we set the anchor by saying this robot anchor set 0.5, 0.5. because it takes a value between 0 and 1. So there, now he's in the middle of the screen. Now we can add animations to the robot. He has an idle animation, this top row here, and it consists of 9 images. And the images are numbered starting from 0. So that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's actually 10 images. So it would be 0 through 9. You go to the sprite snippets. There is an add an animation to a sprite. That's what we need right there. Copy that. So we'll replace my sprite with this robot. Animation will be called idle. We need the key for that. You can make up anything you want in that key. We need a frame array, and it starts at 0. So we need 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 10 frames starting at 0. A frame's a second, how fast you want it to go. If it's 1 frame a second, it goes slower than if it's 20 frames a second. So we'll just use 12 for the moment, and we can change that later if we want. And do we want this animation to loop? Now, things like walking or idling, you want to loop. Things like if you have an animation about an explosion, you probably don't want that to loop over and over. So this one we do want to loop. So I'll put true. This robot, animations, play, idle. Now let's have a look at that. There. He's just waiting patiently. The next is the walk. The next is the walk, and I think that is another 10 frames. So let's try that 10 through 17. Now I can just copy this line above idle, and we will change idle to run, and we'll change the frame array 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think that's right. And we'll play that run animation. Now we'll switch this back to idle. Now all that's left is to make our character move with the keyboard. And there's a snippet for that as well. If you go under Game Snippets, down at the very bottom, Keyboard Arrows. So copy that and paste that in the update function. So now we have a bunch of if-then-else statements that will check for the keyboard. If the key left is pressed, then this robot, X, needs to lessen. And if he's going right, then we advance him. Let's check that out. Good, I'm pushing left and right, and he's going left and right. And we can do the same for the X and the Y. Good, so now we have a moving robot going with the keys. Now let's add in the animation so it looks like our robot is running. And we can do that by simply saying this robot play run when we have one of the keys pressed. Now there is one little problem with this though. Once he starts running, he doesn't stop. So we need to turn off the animation if one of these keys is not pressed. We can just add an else, and this robot play idle. There. Now a couple of things. He's going way too slow for that animation. So let's put a speed variable down here. This robot X plus equals this speed. And I'll put this speed on all of them. And we'll define this speed up here in the create function. This speed equals, we'll put it at 4. See how that is. We can adjust it if we need it then. Not too bad. Let's take it down to 2 so we can just see him more clear. That's a little better. Now you notice though that the robot is not facing the right way when he's running to the left-hand side of the screen. And we can fix that by saying this robot scale X equals -1. And we want to turn him back facing the right way when he goes to the right. So this robot scale.x equals 1. So let's have a look at that. Refresh. There. Pretty cool. Well, I hope that answers your question, Randy. If you or anybody else watching has any more questions or anything else you'd like to see, just drop me a line below. Thanks very much.